everyone said it's a super team this, super team that. But we had to build our team around all minimum guys, which was still okay, but we didn't fill out the complimentary guys enough. Yeah, we had Rio, we had Udonis, but we didn't have enough.
Same play shows up. Suddenly, LeBron's Heat years turn into a story where the team was stacked, but somehow still not enough. Obviously, my first year in Miami, yeah, we had a big three, and everyone said it's a super team this, super team that, but we had to build our team around all minimum guys, which was still okay, but we didn't fill out the complimentary guys enough. Yeah, we had Rio, we had Udonis, but we didn't have enough, and every loss magically lands on role players instead of his performance. Let's pause that right there. LeBronJames and Rich Paul move as one unit. Same mindset, same strategy, same script. Watch closely and you'll see it every time. Not just revising history, but constantly framing setbacks as a lack of help narrative.
Really, now they have their conditioning.
They're scouting you different. They're preparing for you more. Yeah.
It's one thing. Then when you go into the playoffs, we seen last year, they ran into athleticism and length. They struggled.
Finney Smith and Hachimura got tied up. James fell out of his hands, picked up by McDaniels. McDaniels down the lane, inside, layup's good, and the foul. Tied up, Randall played him well. Back to Finney Smith, into the hands of James, fires up a three, side of the backboard.
That calls LeBron the GOAT. For some strange reason, this supposed all-time legend is always short-handed. That's with Wade and Bosh, then Kyrie and Love, and now Luka and Austin Reeves. If he's truly the best ever by a mile, why does the bar for help keep moving? Every legend needed help, no doubt, but none of them demanded a flawless 10 out of 10 roster with 0 cracks just to compete. With LeBron fans, if even one piece feels off, the complaints don't stop, ever. Take this current Lakers roster as the clearest example. Luka and Reeves are both top 10 scorers in the entire league, each hovering around 30 a night. No other team in the NBA has that kind of scoring luxury on one roster. For the average fan, that's a dream setup. For Rich Paul and LeBron, somehow it's still not enough help. And here's where it gets wild. Austin Reeves, borderline all-NBA major most improved buzz, is now being floated as a 6th man by that same camp. That makes no sense. You don't fix depth by benching elite production. That's not balance, that's backward thinking. Ideally, Austin Reeves, and who knows what happens by the playoffs, is Ginobili, right? In an ideal world, on a championship team, he's the killer 6-man, right? But he's paid as a starter. I get it, yeah. On the Spurs, he'd be the 6th man. Right. Especially back in the day. The Spurs made that decision, and you know what Ginobili did? He embraced it. Right. And how many championships they win? 5. Yeah, it's those type of decisions to be made. This Lakers issue isn't about star power. It's about expectations. You already have a rare scoring combo most teams.
Ginobili, right? In an ideal world,
on a championship team,
he's the killer 6th man, right?
Yeah, but he's paid as a starter.
He's paid. I get it. On the Spurs, he'd be the 6th man, right? Especially back in the day.
The Spurs made that decision, and you know what Ginobili did? He embraced it. Right. And how many championships they win? 5.
Yeah.
It's those type of decisions to be made.
More minutes, more rhythm. He looked like a completely different player out there. But here's the switch up. The second LeBron returns, both guys see their minutes chopped, and suddenly they're riding the bench. And then we hear complaints about lack of depth. That argument doesn't hold weight. Let's keep it real. History shows championships are won by superstars and elite top options. Depth helps, no doubt, but if you have true star power at the top, you can survive thinner rotations. No team has ever won a title without elite talent leading the way. So once again, let's stop Rich Paul right there. This is the same move every time. Revise the past, tweak the story, and act like the blueprint suddenly changed. Now look at the complaints being pushed. Length, speed, shooting, those are issues for almost every team that loses a playoff series. If we're being honest, the most recent Lakers loss came down to one thing: LeBron James not delivering in the biggest moments. Go back to Game 1 in Los Angeles, a must-win at home, Christmas Day spotlight, 3rd seed, home court advantage, everything lined up. Luka showed up with 37 points like clockwork. Meanwhile, LeBron didn't match the moment. His second option wasn't sharp either. 8 for 18 from the field, 4 turnovers, and just 1 for 5 from deep. That's not enough for a postseason opener at home. Game 1 matters a lot. League history shows the winner of Game 1 takes the series about 75% of the time. LeBron coming up empty there wasn't small, it was massive. Then comes Game 4, Lakers down 2-1, series hanging in the balance. Win that game and it's tied. Momentum shifts. Best of 3 heading back home. Lose it and you're buried. What happened? Lakers lose and go down 3-1. Basically curtains. And in the fourth quarter, LeBron goes 0 for 2. 0 points plus a brutal turnover. That's the swing moment right there. Now let's be fair, Luka wasn't at his absolute MVP peak either. Reeves didn't have his best series, no argument. If you want to place blame on Luka as the number 1 option, that's reasonable. But the one name barely mentioned in the blame game is LeBronJames. And when you look at those late-game no-shows and costly mistakes, it's clear those moments played a major role in how that series slipped away. Here's something that needs to be said loud and clear. When it comes to NBA blame games, the third option usually gets way less heat than the second option. That's normal basketball logic. But with LeBron fans, the rules shift depending on what helps LeBron in that moment. If LeBron is labeled the top option, suddenly the third option catches more blame than anyone else. But if LeBron gets framed as the third option, now it's excuses season. He's old, he's just the third guy, you can't blame him. That flip-flop says everything. Let's rewind to 2022. Russell Westbrook was clearly the third option on those Lakers teams. Who took the heat all year long? Westbrook. No hesitation, no mercy, no context. LeBron fans had zero problem dumping the blame on a third option back then. Now, fast forward to 2026, LeBron is the third option and suddenly the tone changes completely. Now it's, you can't blame him, he's just the third guy, that's not fair. Same role, totally different energy. That right there sums it up perfectly. When it benefits LeBron, the third option gets tossed under the bus. When LeBron is the third option, accountability disappears. So let's pause and read between the lines of Rich Paul's comments. So when you look at it now, athleticism, length, shooting, speed, right? Because now, can the Lakers play fast? I don't think so. And style of play? You can't. You know that style of play is going to be very easy to guard. What's really being said? He's pointing the finger at guys like Reeves and Luka Doncic, especially Luka, and suggesting their playstyle doesn't translate to championships. Now, to be fair, Luka hasn't won a title yet. That part is true. But if we're talking recent results, who's actually delivered when it matters? Look at the last 5 years. Luka made the Western Conference Finals in 2022 and the NBA Finals in 2024. That's real postseason impact. Meanwhile, LeBron, over that same stretch, a rough 12-20 playoff record. If the question is whose path you follow moving forward, LeBron or Luka, the answer is obvious. Luka has been the more effective postseason player in recent years, no debate. Because when Rich Paul speaks, he's not just giving opinions, he's setting the frame for how history will be remembered. Every quote, every podcast appearance, every carefully placed critique isn't random, it's strategic. It's about shaping perception before the season even ends. And once you understand that, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. LeBronJames has mastered something no other superstar ever truly did at this scale: preemptive blame management. Losses are never allowed to age naturally. They are explained immediately, reframed instantly, and contextualized aggressively. There is always a reason ready before the dust settles. Lack of help, poor fit, wrong style, not enough shooting, not enough length, not enough speed, not enough depth. Notice what's missing from that list: performance. The conversation almost never centers on LeBron's execution in decisive moments. Instead, it gets redirected toward roster construction, coaching philosophy, or teammates not fitting some idealized championship blueprint that conveniently changes year to year. And that's not accidental, because the standard applied to LeBron is unlike any other superstar in NBA history. With Jordan, Kobe, Duncan, Shaq, if they lost, the conversation started with them. What did you do? What did you miss? What could you have done better? Help was discussed, sure, but accountability was non-negotiable. With LeBron, accountability is optional and only applied when it doesn't threaten the legacy. This is why the help argument has become so exhausting. LeBron has played with more All-Stars, All-NBA players, and Hall of Fame level talent than almost anyone ever. Wade, Bosh, Kyrie, Love, AD, and now Luka and Reeves. Yet somehow the narrative still frames him as constantly undermanned. At some point, logic has to step in. If every roster is flawed, if every supporting cast is inadequate, if every loss is about fit and not execution, then maybe the issue isn't the team. Maybe it's the expectations being artificially inflated to protect one player from criticism. And that brings us to the most uncomfortable truth of all. The bar for LeBron keeps moving because his legacy requires it to. When he was young, the excuse was experience. When he entered his prime, the excuse was supporting cast. When he won, it was dominance. When he lost, it was circumstances. Now that he's older, it's age. There's always a shield ready. But basketball doesn't work like that. The court doesn't care about narratives. It doesn't care about podcasts. It doesn't care about legacy management. When the fourth quarter comes and the game tightens, the ball finds the same hands. And in those moments, results matter more than explanations. Let's talk about those moments again, because they keep getting brushed aside. Game 1, home court, statement opportunity. Luka shows up. That's not debatable. LeBron doesn't. And instead of that being treated as the defining moment of the series, it gets buried under conversations about spacing and roster flaws. Game 4, season on the line. Fourth quarter, 0 points, turnover. Series essentially over. That's not a role player problem. That's not a depth issue. That's a superstar moment that didn't get delivered. And yet, within days, the conversation shifts. Suddenly, it's about pace. Suddenly, it's about athleticism. Suddenly, it's about Luka's style not translating, even though Luka has literally taken teams farther in recent postseasons. That's not analysis. That's deflection. And here's where Rich Paul's comments become especially telling, because when he talks about style of play being easy to guard, he's subtly shifting responsibility away from LeBron and onto the younger star. He's planting the seed that Luka's approach is the problem, not LeBron's declining impact in late-game situations. That's bold, and honestly, it's disrespectful to reality. Because if we're being factual, Luka has consistently elevated in the postseason. He has imposed his will against elite defenses. He has carried rosters that, on paper, had no business going as far as they did. Meanwhile, LeBron's recent playoff resume tells a very different story. This isn't about age shaming, this is about honesty. Greatness doesn't expire, but dominance does. And instead of accepting that transition gracefully, the clutch narrative machine is fighting it at every turn. Instead of saying LeBron is no longer the closer he once was, they say the system isn't built right. Instead of saying the league has passed this style, they say the roster lacks speed. It's always external. But here's the thing fans need to understand. You can't have it both ways. You can't say LeBron is still one of the greatest forces in basketball while also excusing every shortcoming as something outside his control. Either he's still capable of carrying in crucial moments, or he's not. And if he's not, that doesn't erase his legacy, it just changes his role. The problem is that Clutch doesn't want a role change, they want a narrative change. That's why the Austin Reeves discussion is so revealing. Reeves has objectively outperformed expectations. He has become one of the most efficient scorers on the team. He has delivered in big games. He has earned his role. And yet, instead of building around that success, the conversation shifts toward pushing him into a sixth-man role. Why? Because acknowledging Reeves as a central piece complicates the hierarchy. It raises questions about why the offense doesn't flow through him more in late games. It highlights moments where LeBron defers, or should defer, but doesn't, and that threatens the established order. So the solution becomes narrative restructuring instead of basketball logic. That's not how championship teams are built. That's how reputations are protected. And fans feel it. This is why the reaction online has shifted from blind loyalty to frustration. Even longtime LeBron supporters are starting to notice the inconsistency. The excuses don't land the same way anymore. The explanations feel recycled. The blame distribution feels forced. And when fans start questioning the script loses power. Because at the end of the day, basketball truth always surfaces. You can delay it, you can reframe it, you can dress it up with context and qualifiers, but eventually the tape speaks louder than the podcast. LeBronJames is still an all-time great. That's not in question. What's in question is whether his inner circle is doing him a disservice by refusing to let the story evolve naturally. By constantly deflecting blame, they're actually highlighting decline instead of masking it. By attacking younger stars and role players, they're shrinking the legacy instead of preserving it. Legends don't need excuses, they need honesty. Michael Jordan didn't blame teammates when he lost. Kobe didn't ask for narrative shields. Duncan didn't reframe failures on podcasts. They let the game speak and accepted the results. LeBron's legacy is strong enough to survive reality, but only if reality is allowed in the room. Right now, Rich Paul is trying to control a conversation that basketball itself is already answering. The league is younger, faster, more dynamic, and the torch is being passed whether Clutch likes it or not. The question isn't whether LeBron is still great. The question is whether his camp can accept that greatness doesn't look the same forever. Because if the excuses keep coming, the scrutiny will only get louder. And this time, the audience isn't buying the remix. If you think the Clutch narrative machine is working overtime to protect LeBron's image, hit that like button. If you think accountability matters more than excuses, drop your take in the comments. And if you want real NBA breakdowns without the PR spin, make sure you subscribe, because the truth always shows up on the court. Because when you listen closely to Rich Paul's language, it's not about improving the Lakers. It's about protecting LeBron's place in history. Every critique of pace, athleticism, or roster fit is designed to redirect attention away from one unavoidable reality. LeBron James is no longer the engine of a championship team. He can still contribute, he can still dominate in stretches, but he is no longer the nightly closer who bends playoff series to his will. And that's not disrespectful, that's biology. What is disrespectful is pretending that reality doesn't exist, and then blaming everyone else when the results reflect it. This is why the Luka conversation feels especially forced. Luka Doncic represents the future. He plays at a different tempo, controls games differently, and doesn't rely on narrative shields. When Luka loses, the criticism is direct. Two-ball dominant, defensive limitations, conditioning, shot selection. No one protects him from those conversations. No one rushes to explain away his failures before the buzzer sounds. But when LeBron loses, the conversation is pre-written. That difference matters, because if Luka is expected to carry responsibility as the lead star, then LeBron must accept responsibility as a co-star or third option. You don't get to critique the younger player's style while insulating the veteran from scrutiny. That's not leadership, that's hierarchy enforcement. And that's where fans start pushing back. The modern NBA audience is smarter than it's ever been. Fans watch film, they understand lineup data, they see minute distributions, they recognize usage patterns, and most importantly, they remember what was said last season. So when Rich Paul says the Lakers can't play fast, fans remember stretches where the team did play faster when LeBron was off the floor. When he mentions lack of shooting, fans point to games where shooters thrived in expanded roles before being reduced again. When he talks about depth, fans recall players who produced until the rotation tightened around LeBron's preferences. These contradictions don't go unnoticed anymore, and that's why the narrative is cracking. Because the more the Clutch camp talks, the clearer it becomes that the problem isn't talent, it's control. The offense must look a certain way, the hierarchy must stay intact, the blame must flow downward, never upward. But championship basketball doesn't care about hierarchy, it cares about results. Look at the teams winning now. Jokic doesn't dominate the ball because of ego, he does it because it works. Curry adjusts constantly. Giannis absorbs criticism when he falls short. These stars don't need narrative protection because their play answers the questions. LeBron's camp keeps answering questions that the court already settled, and that's why this feels different from past years. Earlier in LeBron's career, the excuses often had merit. Young rosters, bad front offices, injuries, coaching instability. Those explanations fit reality, but now the excuses are colliding with evidence, and evidence doesn't bend. This Lakers team has elite scoring, it has playoff experience, it has depth pieces who've shown they can contribute. What it doesn't have anymore is a superstar who can dominate the final 5 minutes consistently against elite competition. And instead of acknowledging that shift, the narrative tries to pretend the blueprint changed. It didn't. Stars still win championships, closers still close games, and when they don't, the season ends. That's the league. And here's the quiet part fans are starting to say out loud. LeBron's refusal to accept a reduced role is hurting the team more than helping it. Because every great dynasty ends the same way, not with a sudden collapse, but with an unwillingness to adapt. aging stars clinging to old authority, systems built around past dominance instead of present efficiency. And by the time the adjustment comes, it's too late. That's the danger LeBron is facing right now. Not criticism, not decline, but denial. And Rich Paul, intentionally or not, is reinforcing that denial by constantly reframing losses as structural failures instead of natural transitions. But history doesn't work that way.
When the book closes on LeBron's career, no one will remember how well the excuses were delivered. They'll remember moments, plays, decisions. And the question won't be, did he have enough help? It'll be, did he adapt? Right now, the answer is trending toward no, because adapting doesn't mean talking differently. It means playing differently. It means empowering younger stars without subtle critiques. It means accepting that leadership sometimes looks like stepping back. It means letting the game move forward without trying to control how it's remembered. LeBron James earned his legacy on the court. Trying to preserve it through narrative control only cheapens it. And that's the irony of this entire situation. The clutch machine believes it's protecting LeBron. In reality, it's exposing him. Every time Rich Paul speaks, the scrutiny intensifies. Every time blame shifts, fans push back harder. Every time Luka or Reeves is subtly criticized, the contrast becomes clearer, because the future doesn't need protecting, only the past does, and basketball always sides with the future. So when this era ends, and it's closer than many want to admit, the story won't be about how unfair the league was to LeBron. It'll be about how long the truth was delayed. LeBron James will go down as one of the greatest players ever. That's locked. What's still being written is how gracefully he exited the spotlight. Right now, the answer is messy, and the longer the excuses continue, the louder that mess becomes. If you think LeBron needs to let the game evolve instead of fighting it, hit that like button. If you think accountability matters more than image, drop your thoughts below. And if you want real NBA breakdowns without the PR gloss, make sure you subscribe, because Basketball Truth doesn't need permission to exist.